Chapter 4: Tiger Years. Shaquille had to learn to adjust his game once he arrived at Louisiana State University in 1989. He wasn't the only star anymore. The Tigers already had a lot of good players. There were upperclassmen on the team who were better and more experienced than Shaquille. "I thought I was the man," Shaquille said. "What I realized when I got to LSU was that everyone there was the man." Coach Brown was just as strict and tough with Shaquille as Shaquille's stepdad had been. If Shaquille or any of the other players missed class, they had to get up at 5:30 in the morning and go running. Coach Brown also gave all his players keys to the gym. This meant they could go and practice on their own whenever they wanted to do so. Shaquille used his key a lot. When his teammates went to a party, he headed to the gym and practiced his game instead. Coach Brown also asked a former NBA player, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to work with Shaquille in practice. Kareem was 7 feet 2 inches tall and one of the best centers to ever play the game. Fans started to wonder whether Shaquille could one day be as good as Kareem, who was famous for his hook shot. He had won 3 National Collegiate Athletic Association (NCAA) titles at the University of California, Los Angeles UCLA, and went on to become one of the highest scorers in NBA history. Kareem saw it differently. "Don't call Shaquille the next anybody," warned Kareem. "Let him be the first Shaquille." Shaq really looked up to Kareem, and even chose to wear the number 33, the same number Kareem wore. During Shaquille's freshman year, he blocked 115 shots, a Southeastern Conference record. The Southeastern Conference is a group of colleges, mainly located in the southeast part of the United States, that compete against each other in a variety of sports. Shaq's record was the 6th highest total in the country. He also led the conference in rebounds per game, ranking 9th in the country. Shaquille did well in the classroom too. He finished the year with a 3.0 grade point average, a solid B. This was the highest average on the team. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 1947–. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, born Ferdinand Louis Elsingur Jr., played basketball for UCLA, where he led the team to 3 straight national championship titles. He perfected his famous skyhook, a one-handed shot that involves him releasing the ball from the highest possible point while using his body to shield the defender, in college because the NCAA did not allow players to dunk. In 1969, he was the number 1 pick in the NBA draft and played for the Milwaukee Bucks. He would later play for the Los Angeles Lakers. In his 20-year career, Kareem won 6 NBA championship titles and was a 6-time NBA MVP. He was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1995. Shaq practiced hard during the summer between his freshman and sophomore seasons. He played pickup basketball for 3 hours a day. At night he did calf raises to make his legs stronger, something he had been doing since high school. He also worked on new moves, like a baby hook shot. When he came back to school as a sophomore, Shaquille had increased his vertical leap by 8 inches in one summer. He could now dunk the ball over any opposing player. "Shaq may be unguardable," said one opposing coach. "This guy may have the physical talent and personal discipline to be the best," said another. Shaquille was now 7 feet, 1 inch tall and weighed 294 pounds. He was nearly impossible to push around. He led the nation in rebounding, averaging 14.7 per game and ranked 7th in the nation in scoring. He also blocked 140 shots, a national record for college sophomores. The Associated Press News Syndicate named him the National Player of the Year. The Tigers shared the conference title that year with Mississippi State University. Articles in newspapers and magazines started to name Shaquille the best center on the planet. Shaquille loved being in the spotlight and bragged about himself a lot. He always did it with a big wink and a smile, though, like he was sharing an inside joke with the world. Shaquille had nicknames for everything, including his celebration dances. He wore a black baseball cap with, "I am the Shaqnificent," written on it. He stayed up late into the night listening to music and even creating new songs. He liked to rap for fun and sometimes talked and rhyme. As a junior, Shaquille was the nation's leading shot blocker and ranked second in rebounding. Unfortunately, LSU lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Shaquille decided not to return to LSU for his senior year. Instead, he entered the NBA draft. Shaquille promised his mom he would eventually go back and complete his college degree. But for now, he was ready to join a professional team. The NBA draft takes place every June or July. The 30 NBA teams each draft, or select, college and international players to join their squad the following season. The teams with the worst record the previous season get the top picks in the draft. Since 1989, the draft has had 2 rounds. In total, 60 players are picked. Players are drafted not just from the United States, but from all over the world. Chapter 5: Magic Man. Now that Shaquille declared he was entering the NBA draft, the NBA's general managers, the people who run the NBA teams, all said they would pick Shaquille if they got the chance. In 1992, the Orlando Magic team based in Orlando, Florida, got to pick the first player in the draft lottery. On June 24th, the NBA draft took place in Portland, Oregon. Shaquille O'Neal was there with many of his closest friends and family. He called the group his Love Shack. The league commissioner, David Stern, stood behind a microphone and announced, with the first pick in the NBA draft, the Orlando Magic picked Shaquille O'Neal. The room burst out in applause. Shaq gave a big smile, looked into the television camera and said, "Who, me?" He was joking, of course. Shaq knew he would be picked first. Shaquille flew down to Florida the following day. He was greeted at the airport by large groups of fans, lots of balloons, and the Orlando Magic cheerleaders and dancers. Shaq put on a pair of Mickey Mouse ears and gave a big grin. "I couldn't believe the greeting I got when I landed. People were jamming the airport terminal," Shaquille said. Shaquille signed a contract with the Magic that paid him $41 million over the next 7 years. He picked the number 32 jersey. 33, his college number, was already taken, so he tried to get as close as he could. At the time, this was the biggest rookie contract in any sport. He also signed a deal with the sneaker company Reebok, which paid him $3 million to wear and promote their sneakers. Shaquille was given his own Reebok shoe called the Shaq Attack. Each pair of his sneakers would sell for $135. This was also the biggest sneaker contract ever for a rookie athlete. Shaquille had not played 1 second in a professional game, and he already had more money than he had ever imagined. This was mostly because he was so good at basketball. It was also because he was such a likable man. Many professional athletes were grim and serious. But Shaquille always looked like he was having fun. Shaquille went home to San Antonio to get ready for the upcoming season. But first he took one day to celebrate. He went on the slides at Splashtown, a water park in the area, with friends from high school. Shaquille was a multimillionaire, but he was still a big kid at heart. Filling Shaq's shoes, the average grown man wears a size 10.5 shoe, but Shaquille wears a size 22. His shoes are about 16 inches long, but most companies don't make shoes this size. Reebok made Shaquille a new custom pair for every game. Shaquille also gets his regular shoes and everyday clothes specially made. The typical suit for a man requires 4.5 yards of cloth. Shaq's suits require 7.25 yards. Shaq's feet are tied for the biggest to ever play in the NBA. Senator Bob Lanier, who played in the NBA in the 1970s and 1980s, was 6 feet, 11 inches tall and also wore size 22. Shaquille played in his first NBA game on November 6, 1992. The Magic beat the Miami Heat by a score of 110-100. Shaquille had 12 points, 18 rebounds, and 3 blocked shots. And he only got better as the season went on. He became the first rookie to start an All-Star game since Michael Jordan in 1985. Players in the All-Star game are voted on the team by fans and players, Then Shaq received the fourth highest number of votes, even though he was only a rookie. Throughout the season, Shaquille continued to show off his fun side. He went on a talk show and rapped for the crowd. When he went to dinner in Orlando, or when he visited other cities for games, he always gave fans the biggest smile as he signed autographs. Michael Jordan, 1963. Michael was a star player at the University of North Carolina and was drafted to the Chicago Bulls in 1984. He played in the NBA until 2003 and won 6 NBA titles with the Chicago Bulls. Like Shaquille, Michael was as famous off the basketball court as he was on it. The Nike company created a sneaker line called Air Jordans. They are the best-selling sneakers of all time. The sports drink Gatorade created one of the catchiest advertising songs ever called, "I Wanna Be Like Mike." Many people say Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever. He played like he could fly, jumping higher and staying in the air longer than any other player. Michael Jordan entered the NBA Hall of Fame in 2009. Shaq's monstrous dunks became famous. During his rookie season he brought 2 entire baskets, the rim, the backboard, and the entire post, down onto the court. No player had ever done this before. The first time he did it was in his first nationally televised game. The second time it happened, the Magic radio announcer still couldn't believe his eyes. He brought it down. He brought the whole goal down, the announcer screamed into his microphone as he watched Shaquille dunk unfold. The Magic went 41-41 during Shaquille's rookie season. He helped the team win 20 more games than they had the previous season. Shaquille was named the NBA Rookie of the Year. Chapter 6: Superman. Shaquille's second season in the NBA was even better than his first. He finished second in the league in scoring, and the Magic went 50-32, making the playoffs for the first time in team history. In the fall of 1993, Shaquille took his love of rap and turned it into a side career. He released his first rap album, Shaq Diesel. The album sold more than 1 million copies. He also starred in a college basketball movie titled Blue Chips and appeared in many commercials for Reebok and Pepsi Soda. Shaq was doing it all. Playing basketball, dancing, singing, and acting. Shaquille lived his everyday life in a big way, too. He bought a mansion in Orlando that was 23,000 square feet. Shaquille's house had a pool, a full-size indoor basketball court, a giant soda machine, and all kinds of video games. After he turned pro, Shaquille tattooed a Superman logo on his left bicep. He even nicknamed himself Superman. And just like his favorite superhero, Shaquille liked helping people. He bought a new home for his mom, stepdad, and siblings in Orlando. He wanted his family nearby while he played. He stopped by often for his mom's home cooking. He also bought houses for both sets of his grandparents. He liked to slip $100 bills to people who are living on the street. He visited sick kids in the hospital. Over Christmas, he dressed like Santa Claus and delivered toys to kids in poor neighborhoods. "My parents taught me to give back," Shaquille said. "It was understood that if I became rich and famous like we thought I would, then I would share the wealth." But just like Superman, Shaquille also had one weakness: making free throws. Slamming the ball through the hoop with 3 defenders hanging on his back was no problem for Shaquille, but shooting uncontested from 15 feet away it became a source of frustration. Once other teams realized he struggled from the free throw line, they began to foul him more and more. At times, this was the only way defenders could stop him. This type of defense strategy even had your name, Hack-a-Shaq. When Shaquille was fouled, he got to go to the free throw line to shoot 2 shots. Even though these shots were unguarded, Shaquille could only manage to sink about half of them. The top free throw shooters in the league made more than 90% of their shots. The Magic shooting coach worked with Shaquille all year. They tried to fix his shooting form. Nothing worked. Unfortunately, Shaquille would struggle with foul shooting his entire career. Despite this flaw, Shaquille's time in Orlando was magical. In the 1994 to 1995 season, Orlando had the best record in their conference, and made it all the way to the NBA Finals before losing to the Houston Rockets in 4 straight games. Off the court, he released 3 more rap albums and starred in another movie. In Kazam, Shaquille played a 3,000-year-old genie who was released from a boombox, a large portable radio, to grant a boy 3 wishes. Kazam wasn't popular with critics, and it wasn't very successful, but Shaquille was still happy he made it. I go through airports, and kids would run up to me and shout Kazam, with the biggest all smiles on their faces, and it made me laugh. Every time, he explained. Shaquille missed 28 games in the beginning of the 1995 to 1996 season because he had a broken thumb. The Magic still made it to the NBA playoffs, but lost in the conference finals to Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. There were starting to be whispers that Shaq was great, but he couldn't win an NBA championship. At the end of the 1995 to 1996 season, Shaq decided to opt out of his contract with the Magic and become a free agent. This meant he could sign again with Orlando or any other team for even more money. Every team wanted Shaquille, and they were willing to pay a lot to get him.